They stormed the beaches of Normandy. They liberated Europe. They were called the greatest generation. But drop them in the jungles of Vietnam? Most wouldn't have lasted a month. And that's not an insult. It's the terrifying truth about what Vietnam really was. Let's be clear from the start. World War II soldiers were warriors, brave, disciplined, battle-tested against the most powerful military machine the world had ever seen. They fought through frozen foxholes in the Ardennes. They bled across the islands of the Pacific. They saw friends torn apart by artillery and machine gun fire. They earned every ounce of respect history gave them. But here's what most people don't understand. Vietnam wasn't just a different war. It was a different universe of suffering. And the men who survived it? They endured a kind of psychological and physical hell that would have broken even the toughest soldiers from World War II.
So before you leave a comment telling me I'm disrespecting the greatest generation, hear me out. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't meant to diminish anyone. It's meant to show you just how unimaginably brutal Vietnam really was, and why the veterans who made it out deserve more credit than they ever got. Imagine this. You're 19 years old. You've been dropped into a jungle so thick you can't see 10 feet in front of you. The air is 95 degrees with 100% humidity. Every breath feels like you're drowning. Your uniform is drenched. Your boots are rotting. Leeches cling to your legs. And somewhere out there, maybe 20 feet away, maybe 2, is an enemy you will never see until it's too late. In World War II, you knew where the front line was. You knew where the enemy was. Germans wore gray. Japanese wore tan. There were battles. There were objectives. There was a map. In Vietnam, there was no front line. There were no uniforms you could recognize. The rice farmer working in the paddy at noon could be the Viet Cong planning a mine at midnight.
The jungle wasn't just the battlefield. It was the enemy. Every shadow, every rustling leaf, every snapped twig could mean death. World War II soldiers fought armies. Vietnam soldiers fought ghosts. And those ghosts, they knew that jungle better than you knew your own hometown. They'd lived in it, trained in it, built entire cities underground in it. The Viet Cong didn't just fight in the jungle, they became the jungle. And that meant every single step you took could be your last. Now, let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. Could you crawl through a pitch-black tunnel, 3 feet wide, 100 feet underground, knowing that around the next corner could be a Viet Cong soldier with a knife, or a bamboo spike trap, or a nest of venomous snakes deliberately placed there to kill you? Yeah, that was the reality for tunnel rats in Vietnam. The Viet Cong built over 150 miles of tunnels beneath Vietnam. Underground cities, complete with hospitals, weapons caches, living quarters, and trapdoors that led to nowhere but death. And when American forces discovered these tunnels, they needed volunteers to go down into them, armed with nothing but a flashlight and a pistol. No backup, no communication, no way out if things went wrong. These weren't soldiers trained for this. They were kids, teenagers, barely old enough to vote. And they climbed down into the earth, not knowing if they'd ever see daylight again. World War II had its horrors. The Pacific caves were nightmares. But at least you could call in artillery. At least you could see the sky. In those Vietnamese tunnels, you were alone, in the dark, with an enemy that knew every inch of that labyrinth. But it wasn't just the physical danger that made Vietnam different. It was the mind games. In World War II, you fought. You won or lost. You took territory, you pushed forward. There was progress, there was purpose. In Vietnam, you fought for the same hill 3 times. You'd lose men taking it. Then you'd be ordered to abandon it. Then, a week later, you'd be sent back to take it again. Imagine watching your best friend die for a piece of ground and then being told it didn't matter, that you're leaving, that all of it, every drop of blood, was for nothing. That kind of futility, it destroys you from the inside. And it gets worse because the Viet Cong were masters of psychological terror.
They'd leave booby traps designed not to kill but to maim, to blow off your legs so your friends would have to carry you screaming through the jungle for hours, so everyone could hear what happens when you step in the wrong place. They'd rig dead bodies. They'd hide mines under wounded soldiers. They'd play recordings of crying babies to lure Americans into ambushes. World War II was brutal, but it was war as soldiers understood it. Vietnam was a different kind of cruelty. It was designed to break your mind as much as your body. And the men who endured that, day after day, month after month, without breaking, they're stronger than we'll ever give them credit for. Let's talk about something nobody ever mentions, the jungle itself. Europe in World War II was cold, muddy, miserable. But you could dig a trench, you could find shelter, you could make a fire. Vietnam, the jungle tried to kill you just as much as the enemy did. Temperatures over 100 degrees. Humidity so thick your clothes never dried. Ringworm, jungle rot, dysentery, malaria. Infections that turned a small cut into a life-threatening wound. Your feet would literally rot inside your boots. They called it trench foot in World War I. In Vietnam, it was just called Tuesday. And the insects, mosquitoes, leeches, fire ants, centipedes the size of your forearm. You couldn't sleep without something crawling on you. You couldn't eat without bugs in your food. And then there were the snakes, bamboo vipers, kraits, cobras, all of them venomous, all of them hidden in the leaves, the grass, the water. One soldier described it like this: in Europe, nature was just there. In Vietnam, nature was actively trying to kill you. And the soldiers who survived that, they didn't just fight an army, they fought an entire ecosystem designed to destroy the human body.
So when people say, why didn't Vietnam vets just toughen up? They have no idea what they're talking about. But here's the part that makes all of this even worse. When World War II soldiers came home, they were heroes. Parades, ticker tape, the whole country celebrated them. They were the greatest generation, and they deserved every bit of that honor. When Vietnam soldiers came home, they were spit on. They were called baby killers, murderers, losers. They were told they fought for nothing, that they were the bad guys. Imagine surviving all of that, the jungle, the tunnels, the fear, the death, and then coming home to a country that hated you for it. World War II vets had the comfort of knowing their sacrifice mattered. Vietnam vets didn't even get that.
They came back with shattered minds and broken bodies. They had nightmares that never stopped, flashbacks that felt more real than reality. And instead of help, they got shame. And still, they survived. They rebuilt their lives. They became fathers, teachers, workers. They carried that weight in silence because nobody wanted to hear their stories. So if you're a Vietnam veteran watching this right now, I need you to hear this. You are not forgotten. What you went through was real. It was hell. And you are stronger than anyone gives you credit for. Now, I know some of you are thinking this video is disrespectful to World War II veterans. And I get it. I really do. But here's the thing. Saying that Vietnam was uniquely brutal doesn't diminish what World War II soldiers did. It doesn't erase their courage. It doesn't take away their sacrifice. What it does is force us to recognize that war isn't one single experience. Every war is its own nightmare. And Vietnam was a nightmare unlike anything that came before it.
World War II soldiers fought with clarity. They knew who the enemy was. They knew why they were fighting. And they had support from home. Vietnam soldiers fought in chaos. They didn't know who the enemy was. They didn't understand why they were there. And the country they were fighting for turned its back on them. Both were hell. But they were different kinds of hell. And the point I'm making, the reason this video exists, is to say this. If you dropped a World War II soldier into Vietnam without preparation, without training for that specific kind of warfare, most wouldn't have made it. Not because they were weak, but because Vietnam required a different kind of strength. It required you to fight without hope, to kill without knowing why, to survive without reward. And the men who did that, they are warriors in the truest sense of the word. So let me ask you one more time. Could you have survived Vietnam? Could you have walked through a jungle knowing every step might trigger a mine? Could you have crawled through those tunnels? Could you have fought an enemy you couldn't see for a cause you didn't understand in a war that had no end? Could you have done all of that and then come home to a country that hated you for it? Because that's what Vietnam veterans did. And they didn't just survive, they endured. To every Vietnam veteran watching this, thank you. Not just for your service, but for your strength. For carrying a burden that most people will never understand. You fought a war that history tried to forget. But you are not forgotten. Not by me, not by anyone who truly knows what you went through. You didn't get the parades, you didn't get the honor, but you earned something even greater. You earned the title of survivor, of warrior, of someone who walked through hell itself and came out the other side. And that's something no one can ever take away from you. If this video made you think differently about Vietnam, leave a comment below, share your thoughts. And if you know a Vietnam veteran, send this to them. Let them know their story matters, because it does, and so do they.